This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
Red lights are off, away we go.
Da müssen die Positionen hergeben.
Wow, qué adelantamiento.
Spät auf der Bremse.
Here they go, flat out, really good stuff.
Tremenda pelea.
The two cars make contact.
Unglaublich.
Wow, qué pelea.
Was war das für ein Rennen?
Wie schon im letzten Jahr begrüßen wir euch mit deutschem Kommentar auf Twitch Racing Unleashed mit Manuel Wendel und Jan-Luca Fröhlen. And for everybody who wants to listen English commentary, join us on YouTube Racing Unleashed with the legend Dave the Brave, very well known from the DTM, Ferrari, Corse Clienti and much more, Dave Richardson.
This is Racing Unleashed.
Hello everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Racing Unleashed as we go beyond the pinnacle. And if you joined us for our first race program weekend just a couple of weekends ago, you'll know that we went beyond expectations in terms of racing and entertainment. It was fantastic. So what can we look forward to today? Well, it is, of course, the Racer League that will be competing. Where will they be competing? Nürburgring. Wow, what a track. 3 configurations, of course. There is the famous Nordschleife, the sprint circuit configuration of the Nürburgring, and we will be racing on the full GP circuit of the Nürburgring. So it's really demanding for all of our drivers. As we found out yesterday, because the Challenger League cars were racing and the drivers were superb. Now, I have been given something of a privileged access because I'm here on race control, and this is the very seat that Carl Wendlinger, who is one of our Racing Unleashed ambassadors, will be sitting as a race steward, working alongside our racing director Spock. Now, I said I wouldn't embarrass him, but during rehearsals for this opening sequence, we just went to camera and Spock let out an enormous sneeze. Now, he's not done that today. Very serious job they do, but they are, of course, human. They were kept very busy over our first race weekend in Austria. Well, in Germany, as we saw with the Challenger League yesterday, they were also kept very, very busy. Lots of decisions to be made, and some of those proved to be really pivotal with the result. Let's take a look at the highlights of our Racing Unleashed program yesterday, which featured our Challenger drivers.
Let's go racing! Boyasasso with it all to do then from pole position, but of course every driver wants to make up positions right at the start of the race. Look at that, taking to the grass and then to the tarmac as Boyasasso gets really overtaken by both Marcus Valverde and Ciro Zambra, and then it's Blasig and David Seed. Bear in mind he's got a lot of work to do going from P7 on the grid, so Ciro Zambra then it is that leads this race at the moment, but there is a long way to go. Bear in mind Ciro Zambra has tasted the sweet success of P2 place. He wants to go one better and make it P1 today. This is Ciro Zambra, and he, of course, what's he doing? Into the pit lane, Ciro Zambra. We're now being told he got penalised for jumping the start. In fact, he wasn't the only one. This is Sinan Demurbis then, who is sick to the back teeth of the sight of the back end of Tyler Klausch's car. He has been able to do nothing about this. I just wonder whether he's going to get desperate and try a lunge, which really isn't on. I don't think he's quite close enough to be able to do it now going into the turn at turn number 1. He does take a look at the inside, and he does, almost exactly as I predicted. Demurbis, well, he may well have been looked for a penalty in any event, but don't want to provoke what race control would do. But now Klaus is back in that P3 position. He's done it on the track by taking the place back. So Sinan de Murbas was told by race control to give the place back. So if he can overtake again, but do it fairly, he would bank P3. So there will be no post-race penalty because he gave the place back. We start the final lap now. I don't know where to look because there is so much going on in this race. There you can see Blasig was just all over the place a little bit there, and Ciro Zambra on the inside of Blasig around the final turn. This will set Ciro up perfectly for turn number 1. So Zambra goes through to pick up P5. That's a remarkable recovery from the penalty from earlier on. So Ciro Zambra then, great driving. Jason Blasig tries to fight back, but is unable to do so. The gap between P1 and P2 is down to 0.3. David Seard doing everything he can to try and get on terms with Valverde. But has Valverde done enough? So heading down towards the hairpin now. David Seard has got the remainder of this lap. That's all he's got. I mean, he'll still be in a really, really advantageous position in the points. But, of course, you're a racing driver. You want to be on the top step of the podium. Let's go on board with him now. David Seard then can see Marcus Valverde ahead of him and has quietly just really reeled him in. This is really one of the last opportunities he's going to have to carry so much speed. Here's Ciro Zambra in P5. As they cross a timing sector line, Sid has lost out some time to Valverde. Here is Ciro Zambra in P5, and I think Marcus Valverde is going to win. No question. He did enough to hold on to that win despite relentless pressure from David Seard behind him. It's a brilliant win for Marcus Valverde. David Seard is very happy with P2.
Today I had a good start, and then I had the pace I need to stay in this position. So at first I thought David was catching me, but I could manage to finish the race in the first position.
It's so hard to overtake in Nürburgring with these cars, and it's so hard. I mean, I could have stayed there for 20 laps and I would have overtaken him.
I just knew that I was in the right, and I didn't want to risk a penalty that I couldn't reverse, basically. And then I just took the smart decision to either take P4 or get P3 back in the end.
And here comes confirmation then of our race from the Nürburgring in the Challenger League. Marcus Valverde taking P1. David Seard then with P2. A great drive from Sinan de Murbas for P3. Tyler Klaus then banks P4. Ciro Zambra, P5. Jason Blasig, then P6. Thomas Herzog, P7. Mikael Fry, it's P8. Boya Zazo, what a comeback, P9. Joshua Hader, he takes P10. To the second page we go, and P11 for Fabian Mayer. Tiziano Caponio, P12. Andren Kaifer, P13. Andre Wagner, P14. Antonio Rivoli banks P15. Valentin Georgiev with P16. Julian Macias de la Rosa, it's P17. Guzman Migueles, P18. Martin Oberholzer, P19. Astrid Vollenweider, we saw across the line, P20. And then P21 for Stephen McMahon and a DNF for Lorenzo Hader.
Sinan takes the P3 place on the podium then. Well, here's David Seard. Generally, when the medal goes on, he will smile for P2. There you go. See, it was a little smile. Well done, David Seard then. And then, of course, P1. Well done, sir. Race winner. First win of the season in Racing Unleashed. And that win comes at the Nürburgring. Oh, there we go. P1 and P2 together. That's a nice photograph, and it's a nice shot for us as well.
This is Racing Unleashed, Beyond the Pinnacle.
Well, I've made it hot foot from our race control over to our studio here in the lounge in Kemptal. And, of course, we bring all our lounges together. Kemptal, Zurich, Madrid, Munich and Calm as well. I should offer my apology to the race director, not only for provoking a sneeze in rehearsals, but also for getting his name wrong. It's Spart. You idiot, Dave. So I've got it right now. Apologies to you. Carl Wendlinger, I didn't have a problem with. You see, if you have a sensible name, it's all perfectly okay, isn't it? Welcome to our program. Hello. I hope you're going to have a great time with us today. Of course, Racing Unleashed, a really, really serious competition with lots up for grabs for the drivers, including this huge prize fund. We are talking a total of over 200,000 Swiss francs up for grabs in our season 2022 as we go beyond the pinnacle. Bigger, better, and all new for 2022. Just look at the monies that can be won. 3.5 grand up for grabs today for the winner of our race today. This is the Battle for Glory. Now, this is a non-championship event which takes place in December, and it is a one-off race. And again, the prize fund for the one-off race, as you could see, is extraordinary as well. So Racing Unleashed really have put their money where their mouths are with regards to just how good this competition is. And we've seen that, as you saw in the recap in the Challenger League, just how competitive the racing is, and we're expecting much of the same today when it comes to the Nürburgring and of course our Racer League drivers, of which, may I say, following a fantastic performance in the Red Bull Ring, Javier Loro leads the championship points going into this race today. So we'll see how Javier is able to perform during the course of the race, which comes up a little bit later on. Of course, before then we have our free practice session, which is called Gear Up. We will be going to Gear Up, and 10 minutes of free practice for all the drivers to get their eyes in. And here we can see Angelo Michel then, who is out on track right now. And this provides us the opportunity to have our first look at this wonderful Nürburgring circuit, going down into turn number 1 now, which is something of a hairpin. Comes back upon yourself, and you're running downhill all the time as well before you sweep into the left-hander, which begins kind of the arena section of this circuit. Devin Isgro, we can see in the lovely livery, green livery. The livery is all new for 2022, and of course the car as well, the Formula Hybrid X 2022, built and designed and made in Maranello. Fantastic simulators under the watchful eye of one Mr. Andrea Montemini. So Devin Isgro, and we split the picture so you can see him hard at work. And he is literally just a stone's throw from me as he finds the grass, and means the groundsman doesn't have quite so much lawn to mow there, because Devon has taken quite a bit out of it. But this is only the gear up session, effectively a free practice session, of which there is only and are only 7 minutes, or just under 7 minutes remaining. And what a train of cars we can see there. We are expecting the race action to be thick, fast, and absolutely furious during the course of the race today. Alejandro Sanchez then, well, what a star he is. He finished in the points with a P6 at the Red Bull Ring. Now, of course, when it comes to, we finish the gear up free practice session, we then go into the knockout qualifying, and how the qualifying works for 2022, as we see Roger Marte on track right now. How the qualifying works, this knockout system. Basically, your championship positions dictate where you are on the track. When we grid up for the knockout session, we have a couple of laps behind the safety car, then the drivers are free to go, but we lose a couple of drivers on every lap after the first 3 laps. So it really adds to our excitement, because it almost provides another race, almost a reverse grid race for our knockout qualifying to set the grid for the race to come this afternoon. We've got the clock running on Roger Marte then, as he makes his way around this wonderful Nürburgring circuit, and we're using the full GP configuration. Now, the track itself is quite abrasive, it's quite demanding on the drivers and on the tyres as well, and Roger Marte getting his hand in now, as you can see. This long run now, as you run downhill towards the hairpin, the right-hander car is naturally sort of pulled to the outside, but Roger controls it perfectly. Now running up to one of the most famous parts of the circuit here at the Nürburgring, this GP configuration, and that, of course, the Schumacher S is. So this is where you would join the track if you were using the sprint configuration, and Roger Marte doing a good job here now. He's going to run behind the paddock here at the Nürburgring. Full chat flat here through this turn, which is supposedly a turn, but it is but a kink. It's taken absolutely flat before huge, heavy braking zone, as we see David Ladamada proving just how good the brakes are in these Formula Hybrid X 2022 simulators by locking up the front. So David Ladamada then, hugely talented driver. Oh, and you've got to keep 2
at least 2 wheels within the white lines. Otherwise, race control will take a look at that. Of course, no harm done during this gear up session. And you can see taking plenty of grass as well, just kissing the apex of the curb. Alejandro Sanchez leading at the moment, and the Tornado Javier Loro is second fastest, just 5/100ths down. Then it's Gasner. Dominic Dedic now goes third fastest, as we see for the first time of asking Michael Smeedel, who took a surprise podium last time out at the Red Bull Ring following decisions by race control. Michael Smeedel then, he banked a podium place, and here he is. He's this weekend racing in our lounge in Munich. Last time around when it was at the Red Bull Ring, he was here with us in Kemptal, but has chosen to commute to our Munich racing lounge. And a very good morning to everyone in all of our lounges, whether they're in Munich, whether they're here in Kemptal, whether in Calm, whether in Madrid. We are delighted that you are all with us and will provide us some fantastic racing. Dominic Dedic and Javier Loro we saw just a couple of moments ago. So Dominic Dedic at the moment is third fastest with merely 3 and a bit minutes of this gear up session remaining. Michael Smeedel now goes to the top of the table. I just saw that on the left hand side of the screen. Here's Dominic Dedic. He's in our Zurich Racing Lounge, which is situated in the Circle in Zurich. We'll be finding out more about the Circle and what the Circle at Zurich Airport is all about a little bit later on in our program. Boy, a lot of curb taken there through the chicane and into the final turn number 15 here at the Nürburgring around the right-hander. Ralf Piringer then, who currently has not given us a meaningful lap time. The order is Smeedel, Holstein, and Michael. Then it's Javier Loro, Alejandro Sanchez, Wojciech Polesny looking very quick today, Dominic Dedic. Then it's Haase, Gasner, and Hirsch. They are the top 10 in our gear-up session. This is Ralf Piringer, braking like never before to go through the chicane, formerly known as the NGK chicane. Now just the chicane. You could turn left there and you may have just seen that piece of tarmac. That would take you onto the legendary Nordschleife. Kevin Aby. Well, Kevin Aby, have we seen a meaningful time from Kevin? Yes, we have. P12 is where he ranks in the order to the left-hand side of the screen at the moment as we run into the final 2 minutes of this gear-up session. And here is Kevin Aby. Split the shot. You can see the front of the car and you can see him hard at work in the simulator, and is on the grass. Just kept it out of the barriers onto the escape road, and Kevin Aby is going to be able to resume from there. Wojciech Polesny, I was extolling the virtues of because he's running in P6. He's only 7 tenths down on Michael Smeedel. He is a countryman who is currently topping the table. Both the drivers from Czech Republic, and here is Wojciech Polesny. And you can see him in the simulator there. It doesn't really give credit to how tall he is. He's something like 7 foot. Huge guy, but hugely talented as well. Sebastian Hirsch loses the back end of the car, but controls it beautifully. And there is Sebastian Hirsch then. He had to use a bit of opposite lock to control the drift, but has got it all pointing in the right direction now. And Sebastian Hirsch is currently 11th fastest. This is Vonenberger, who is, where are we, 16th fastest and taking a little bit of the AstroTurf runoff area. He's based in our lounge in Munich. Fine place that lounge is as well in Munich, Germany. So Yannick Vonenberg, 6th gear, 7th gear now. 270, 80 kilometers per hour. We get to 290 just as he brakes then hard for the left-hander, then the right-hander. And Mark Gasner, who is sitting in P9 at the moment with just under 15 seconds of this gear-up session remaining. We're live and we are watching Mark Gasner then round the final turn and head towards the line. He'll just cross it probably with enough time to get another meaningful lap in. But of course, this is a gear-up session. It's effectively free practice. Checkered flag comes out now. And as the checkered flag came out, Michael Smeedel remained at the top. With Angelo Michel, though, only 5/100ths behind, and Christoph Holstein, Javier Loro, and Alejandro Sanchez. Michael Smeedel then, who managed to cross the line before the checkered flag came down, which means he can put another lap in. As I mentioned, he took a surprise podium in the first event of our championship for 2022 at the Red Bull Ring, which is where we were racing. And he is, it's fair to say, not a fan of the knockout qualifying, which I love because it drives supreme entertainment for us, because it's like, as I said, a reversed grid race where the drivers all have to really overtake and get further up the order, because dependent upon the championship positions, that dictates where you start and where you start on the grid. For the knockout qualifying, and that will be coming up a little bit later on. Our program truncated into two parts. We do the gear up and also the knockout qualifying, and then we take a little break, enabling you to get a cup of coffee, and then we're back with the race in full. So that's what we can expect from our two, if you like, programs today. But thrilled that you are with us. So the gear up session is done and dusted. And all the drivers looking really, really competitive, and they'd really got their eyes in with regards to this Nürburgring circuit. 5.148 kilometers. That's 3.2 miles in old money. Some 15 challenging turns, 6 of them to the left, 9 of them to the right. And what's really interesting, and I was told by experienced racing drivers, just like Carl Wendlinger, your exit from turn 13, which is or turn 14, the chicane, it's your exit from the chicane which sets you up perfectly for an overtake in turn number 1. So you get a good trajectory going through the final turn, then you've got a good place to be when it goes to the start-finish straight, alongside the roller coaster, of course, here at the Nürburgring, and then you run downhill and into turn number 1, which is where perhaps you can make that overtake work. So then, here are the standings after our first race weekend. Javier Loro then, the Tornado, is P1. Angelo Michel, P2, as you can see, as we go through the standings here. Who has banked what points and who needs to... Now, this is interesting because you can see that Wojciech Polesny had a DNF. Now, I think Wojciech Polesny, certainly in that gear-up session that we've just watched, he was pretty quick, and he wants to right the wrongs of the Red Bull Ring, and he is going to be very much a driver to watch today, I think. Keep an eye on him. Mikkel Smeedel, we already know just how talented he is, and here is how the knockout system works. So we get into our laps then, and the drivers line up on a grid effectively behind the safety car, and off they go for 4 laps. Safety car comes in, they've got a couple of laps to get their eye in once again, and then the elimination starts. And basically the last 2 drivers on the track get eliminated. So the focus for all the drivers, if you're starting right at the back of the pack, is to overtake as many cars as you can during the knockout qualifying phase, and that means that you get to live another day, as it were, or live another lap. And so those that start right at the back of the pack, and it's going to be the likes of Javier Loro and Angelo Michel and Mikkel Smeedel and Christoph Holstein, they are the ones that are in the danger zone almost immediately, so they need to be overtaking some drivers. It all ends up coming to a fantastic conclusion, which is effectively a super pole, when it's left to 2 drivers to fight it out for pole position, and who will take the coveted P1 when it comes to the grid for the race here at the Nürburgring a little bit later on in our program. All the information, of course, and if I didn't explain it well enough for you, you can find out all the information at our website. It's racing-unleashed.com, www.racing-unleashed.com. We go beyond the pinnacle for 2022. So our gear up then was really, really good, and showed the promise of a number of drivers that perhaps didn't perform as we expected at the Red Bull Ring. They've got their mojo back, and they are ready to fight for the big money that's up for grabs in Racing Unleashed today as we go racing at the Nürburgring. Of course, it is a packed season, and almost no time for the drivers to relax between race weekends. And, of course, trying to get their eye in and keep their practice levels up, because a number of these drivers, of course, all have professional careers as well. So this is very much a part-time escapade, if you will, but they all have ambitions and aspirations. And talking of aspirations, content provider and a huge social media star is Mr. JWW, and he's going to give us his insight into the Nürburgring.
So welcome back. Today the drivers are racing the Nürburgring in Germany. Now this is not to be confused with the Nordschleife. This is the Nürburgring GP circuit, And this is quite a quirky track. Actually, half of the track works its way downhill and the rest of it works its way back uphill to rejoin the iconic start-finish straight. It's really fast and there's an amazing mix of super high-speed straights, long flowing corners where the downforce of the cars really come into play, and crucially some super high-speed braking zones into some slower hairpins. So there's some background info on today's race circuit. Stay tuned. It's going to be tight, it's going to be fast. Don't want to miss it.
Thank you, James. He is a superb driver and a superb ambassador for Racing Unleashed, and he started his YouTube journey, can you believe, in 2015 with no audience and just an iPhone camera. Moved to 2021 and the stats are altogether different, with an audience of over 1.5 million, and his audience covers and spans more than 120 countries. Delighted that James Walker is one of our ambassadors. So the cars are out then, ready for this knockout qualifying session. And there you can see the lineup as the cars are led around by the safety car. It's Angelo Michel and Michael Schmiedl and Javier Loro who line up right at the back of the pack. So they are the ones that have got to do the overtaking to ensure that they live for another lap in this knockout quali session. And those that I've got the privilege to start from the front. Dominic Dedic. Now, if he was very, very, very clever here, he, of course, could escape up the road when the safety car peels off, and he'll have clear tarmac ahead of him. All the fighting and all the work is going to go on behind him. So, Dedic and Vediger and Nico Farland and Enrique Marinon, all of those drivers. The one, for my money, you need to keep your eyes on is Wojciech Polesny. Starting P7 in the knockout qualifying phase, there's Alejandro Sanchez. He's a bit further forward by dint of the fact that he classified P6 in race 1 following a penalty, and therefore he is starting from P18 on the grid for this knockout qualifying. Michael Schmiedl then, he knows, and he's got to do quite some overtaking. He certainly did that in the first race. Angelo Michel also, same applies, going from P20 on the grid. The numbers that you can see on the left-hand side is their virtual position on the grid behind the safety car. And, of course, because the safety car is part of our program and therefore is transponded up, that, of course, is car number 1. So, safety car peels off into the pit lane and we get our knockout qualifying underway. Dominic Dedic, then, is going to do exactly as I predicted. He is going to escape up the road like a thing possessed to enable him to have a completely clear track ahead of him and to let all the fights go on behind him. And as you can see, already overtaking going on. It's what I love about this knockout phase. Wojciech Polesny, forgive me, did I not say he's going to be one to keep an eye on? He's up to P5 already. So it's the likes of Javier Loro and Angelo Michel and Michael Schmiedl that need to do some overtaking also. So Devin Isgro currently P6, so he's in it for the long haul when it comes to this quali session, this knockout session. Here we go, on board with Devin Isgro, literally just a few meters away from me here in Kemptal, and is a few meters away from the car ahead of him as well. So heading up towards the uphill section there. David Ladamada, also based here in Kemptal. David Ladamada is a very, very feisty driver. Combines his racing with his occupations as both a nurse and a firefighter. He's a hugely committed individual. Is Alejandro Sanchez. What a star he is, and he is one absolutely who you would tip for the top in terms of racing. Running down towards the chicane now. Now, you can overtake at the chicane. Alejandro is nothing like close enough to be able to do it. However, what he will do is get... I was going to say he'll get a good exit from the chicane. I'm not sure he did. And that would set him up nicely to go into a perhaps potential overtake going into turn number 1. Wojciech Polesny is really moving up the order. And Michael Schmiedl sets the fastest lap, and Michael Schmiedl has overtaken some 4, maybe 3 cars on his way. And here is Michael Schmiedl. He's got a huge gaggle of cars ahead of him, and see how they're really having to fight in this knockout qualifying. And Michael Schmiedl under threat himself now, but he quite closes the door as is his wont to do so, puts himself ahead and protects the position that he's in. Sebastian Hirsch is running P10 at the moment, and we're not many moments away from beginning to lose drivers. And the drivers that are under threat at the moment are Jan Teufen and the Tornado Javier Loro. We could be losing them on the first round of elimination in this knockout qualifying that we are watching right now. Dominic Dedic is leading it by a second and a tenth ahead of Enrique Marin and Wojciech Polesny as one car's into the barriers there. I think that might have been Vonenberg. No, Gasner. So Gasner, no, it is Vonenberg. So Vonenberg is the one that is likely to be eliminated. Now, because we've only got 21 cars, we're only going to get one elimination on the first eliminated lap. Enrique Marinon finds himself in P3. He is really being chased hard by Wojciech Polesny and also Nico Farland. And Nico Farland, you may recall, put the car on pole position for our last race. So Dominic Dedic sets the fastest lap then. We're looking at a 1:32. Enrique Marinon is P3, Vediger is P2, Dominic Dedic is still leading the way. And here's Alejandro Sanchez then. Now Alejandro Sanchez is in the danger zone. And Alejandro Sanchez, we see now, doesn't look perhaps as quietly confident as we have seen him as we split the screen and we get a view of him in the simulator. Florian Haase then, who is currently P7 and trying to overtake the car of Devin Iskro ahead. So there is Florian Haase then with a huge queue of cars behind him, including Ivan Kaufmann and Hirsch and Aby and Piringer. And this is Wojciech Polesny. Now, Wojciech Polesny has really reeled in Enrique Marinon now. And let's see what he can do. This is the back straight, if you will, through the kink here, heading up towards the chicane. Will he dive to the inside with a last gasp move going into the chicane? No, he doesn't. Discretion, the better part of valor. He holds on to the position that he has at the moment. Mikael Smedel, he's done a lot of overtaking. He's up to P4 now. Did you see? He just showed his face to the back end of David Ladomada to almost try and unsettle David Ladomada. Now, with a very, very good exit out of that turn, perhaps Smedel will be able to take him going into turn number 1. Let's see now. Will he dive to the inside? Well, precisely as predicted, the door is closed. Is there a little touch between the two of them? For my money, that was a good overtake from Mikael Smedel and did exactly as we've been predicting by setting himself up nicely through the exit of the chicane. For Alejandro Sanchez, it's all over as he ran wide into the runoff area. Kevin Aby has moved up another position as well. We see him on screen now. He's moved up to P9, so we have lost our championship driver Alejandro Sanchez in the early part of qualifying, and we continue now. It's Gasner and Vonenberg who are in the danger seats now, if you will, as Kevin Aby in that P9 position. Here is Mark Gasner then. Now, not only would he have to be on terms with the car ahead of him, he'd have to overtake and then get in front of Angelo Michel as well, so it's going to be a big ask. And barring disaster up ahead, I would say that this is the last lap we're going to see in knockout qualifying for Mark Gasner. This is a wonderful camera shot. You get a real sensation of the speed that they carry through the kink on the back straight, and then huge braking effort required into the chicane. And then the final turn, you can see pit in to the right-hand side of your screen. Number of drivers get pushed towards that as they jostle for positions going through that final turn. And Mikael Smedel now sets the fastest lap. So Yannick Vonenberg, unfortunately, his Q session, his knockout qualifying is done and dusted. Ralf Piringer is currently, well, he would be lining up, if everything stayed this way, he'd be lining up on the 5th row of the grid because he's P10 currently. Wojciech Polesny, may I mention, has moved up to P3. Here is Angelo Michel, very much in the danger zone now. A lock-up coming from David Latamata, 2 cars ahead of him. Now, that could play into his hand. So Angelo Michel then has got to try and get past both of these. And there's another lock-up from David Latamata, who's locking his tyres around the Nürburgring circuit. So climbing uphill now through the S's. Angelo Michel needs to dispose of both of the cars that are in front of him. It's a big ask to do in the space of just 50% of the lap, which is what's remaining, because Angelo Michel is on his last timed lap effectively in this knockout qualifying session. You can see up ahead overtaking going on as Angelo Michel closes the gap, but he has not done enough. It's P18 on the grid that Angelo Michel will be starting from. And this, as he crosses the timing line now, means that his, and you can almost sense the disappointment, his qualifying in the knockout phase is over. Dave Latamata then, who we saw locking up a couple of times, he and Christoph Holstein are in the danger zone now as we go into the next lap of our knockout phase. Wojciech Polesny and Michael Smiedl, both having done a good job. This is Christoph Holstein here in Kemptal. Now, 5 cars within his sight ahead. It's all very well being as quick as the cars ahead of you. You've got to find a way by. And at the moment, Christoph Holstein in that P15 position has not been able to do so. So if he could get by Javier Loro, the Tornado, just ahead of him, that would ensure that he has another lap. But of course, Javier Loro is protecting his own position and trying to attack Roger Marte ahead of him. I just caught a glimpse on the graphics that Wojciech Polesny must have had an off, because he's fallen right down the order, having done such a good job in both free practice and this knockout qualifying. And sure enough, Polesny now right at the back, right at the bottom. So Wojciech Polesny has had an off. Actually, you can almost see from his facial expressions how utterly dejected he is, having done such a good job. He'd really overtaken a lot of cars and at best was up to P3, and that is a big moment for Christoph Holstein, who does donuts on the start-finish straight, gets it pointing in the right direction once again. But unfortunately for Christoph Holstein and also for Wojciech Polesny, that is the end of their qualifying. They are knocked out. So now we see David Latamata and Javier Loro into the danger zone of this knockout qualifying. We love the drama of it. Here is Javier Loro then. Now, bear in mind, just a couple of weeks ago, he was victorious. What he needs to do is get by those cars ahead of him. He's got to try and find a route by them, using every single centimetre of tarmac that he can. But of course, those drivers ahead don't want to let him through, and it's pretty unlikely he's going to get a helping hand from anybody here. Javier's really going to have to fight for it, and he's running out of time. Climbing up towards the S's now, completing almost 50% of the lap. Oh, and wow, fortune favors the brave sometimes. So Javier Loro passes one car. Can he do another now on the long straight, heading behind the paddock? He's reeling in the car, reeling it in like it's on the end of a fishing line. He's going to go to the inside line, and Javier Loro will get another lap, because David Latamata and Devin Iskro are the 2 drivers that are going to be eliminated after they have rounded turn 15. So it's Devin Iskro and David Latamata that will be out now, and here is Sebastian Hirsch on the inside of Ivan Kaufman going in towards turn number 1. Oh, and he knocks, I think that was Kevin Abbey. Sure enough, it was. Kevin Abbey knocks down the order now. Hirsch is on the grass. So this is how fraught and frantic it can get in qualifying, because every single lap and every track position counts. So much going on, and it's all playing nicely into the hands, or it was, of Javier Loro, who has now gone around. So the 2 in danger now are Kevin Abbey and Javier Loro. Javier Loro actually initially took advantage of the skirmish that was going on, and then it all went south for him. And he's in the wrong direction now. So, whilst all this is going on, We can see Dave Latamata then having a conversation here. Dominic Dedic is at the top of the table. It's P1 for Dominic Dedic. Here is Kevin Abey. He and Javier Loro are in strife now, because as you can see, they're a long way behind any other car which they would have to overtake to ensure that they could have another lap, and it ain't gonna happen. So Kevin Abey and Javier Loro now. If Javier can get past Kevin Abey, it would mean P11 on the grid rather than P12. So there is Javier Loro then. You can see spectators looking on and keeping an eye on what he's doing. And here is Kevin Abey. So through the chicane, Javier Loro's right on his gearbox. Mikael Smedel, he's been something of a star. He's taken every opportunity and finds himself in P5. He's going to be a danger man for the race, even from P5. Make no mistake about that. And Sebastian Hirsch then, he can do another lap, but for the likes of Kevin Abey and Javier the Tornado Loro, they are going to be out. This is Mikael Smedel then. So sixth row start for him, P5. Who's he got ahead of him? It's Haase, who he's trying to get on terms with. So we have the final 10 cars then that will occupy the first 5 rows of the grid. And Javier Loro is bitterly disappointed, as you can see. Discussions going on there. So it's Dominic Dedic, Enrique Marinon, then it's Vediger and Haase, Schmiedel, Farland, Piringer, Kaufmann, Marte, and Hirsch. Roger Marte has been just quietly going about his business, and again, I can almost see him from my position in the commentary studio in the broadcast center here in Kemptal as we look at Roger Marte now, heading up towards the chicane, and he's too far back, I think, from Hirsch to be able to get by him. So it means it's going to be 5th row for this man, Roger Marte, then inside the simulator, and he crosses the timing line. Now his qualifying is done and dusted. So we lose Hirsch, we lose Marte, and we're into the final 4 rows of the grid now, and Ivan Kaufmann wants to get past Piringer. Piringer is the car ahead of him, Nico Farland ahead of him, and Mikael Smedel ahead of him. That's the way it looks at the moment. So this knockout qualifying delivering exactly as we want it to. Great, brilliant racing, and it is racing in this qualifying because every driver at risk of being knocked out. Jumping out of the simulator now is Roger Marte, and I think he'll be pretty pleased with what he delivered in qualifying. So Roger Marte then is out of the car. This is Ivan Kaufmann, still not been able to find a way past Piringer, but continuing to pressure him. There's no question. If you pile the pressure on, just sometimes the driver ahead makes a mistake. That's what you're looking for. You're looking to provoke just the tiniest of errors. So Ivan Kaufmann then, absolute 100% focus as he pursues Piringer, and he's probably only got 1 or 2 opportunities left, and that would actually not be enough because he would need to get past Farland, who's ahead of him as well. But Ivan Kaufmann has done everything he can do. He takes the wide outside line along around the final turn, and we lose Piringer and Kaufmann. So we then are into the final 6 cars, which contain Nico Farland, who we watch now, Mikael Smedel, and then it's Haase, Vediger, Marinon, and Dedic. Now you can see Nico Farland is so far behind Mikael Smedel. Smedel, however, though, as he throws absolutely everything out this. You've heard the expression from motor racing people about quali laps. Well, the great thing about this knockout qualifying is that every lap has to be a quali lap, and that's really, really difficult to do when you've got traffic. And that's the whole idea. That's why it's designed the way it is. You could just see him showing his face to the back end of Haase. Haase is the one that could end up in strife here as Mikael Smedel is all over the back of him, trying to find a way by. This is brilliant stuff. It's like another race. It is knockout qualifying only here at Racing Unleashed. We are with the Racer League drivers at the Nürburgring. It's the second round of the championship. Mikael Schmidl takes a look at the inside going into the chicane. If he gets a better exit here, he can get to the inside line, but you could see how Haase was trying to close that door and continues to do so. Wherever Mikael Schmidl puts his car, there is a lump of the car ahead of him in the way. So brilliant, valiant effort from Mikael Schmidl, but it's not enough. Absolutely, it is not enough. So we lose Nico Farland and we lose Mikael Schmidl, and it's down to the final four. Knocking on the door of that pole position for the race to come. A little bit later on, it's Dominic Dedic, then it's Marinon, then it's Vediger, then it's Haase. Florian Haase then, who is in Munich right now, and as you can see, he's so far away from the car ahead of him that the likelihood of him being able to go through to the Super Pole shootout between the top two drivers, well, a disaster would have to befall them before he would be able to do that. Nonetheless, he has driven really well. Here's Fabio Vediger then, who is out on his own, and he in turn is so far behind Enrique Marinon that I think the likelihood of him being able to contest either the P2 or P1 position are as good as zero. So Fabio then, who is here in Kemptal, heads up towards the chicane, absolutely full chat flat, leaf braking to the last possible moment. Take really rather more curb than you should, but it matters not because Fabio Vediger will be starting P3 on the grid as he heads towards breaking the timing beam right now. And he does that, and we get the Super Pole shootout between Dominic Dedic and Enrique Marinon. Although it's not going to be so much of a shootout because Dominic Dedic has just got so much advantage over this man, Enrique Marinon. So we've pretty much got our P1 and P2 already confirmed. Here is Enrique Marinon then in Madrid, in our racing lounge there. Still giving it absolutely everything he can, because if something should happen to Dedic, he would be able to pick up the pieces. But as you can see, the Dedic car is only just within sight of Enrique Marinon. And therefore, it's a pretty clear slam dunk that Dominic Dedic is going to be P1 because he's got a 5.7 second margin. So Dominic Dedic in Zurich, situated in the lounge, which is in the circle at the airport at Zurich. It's a fantastic facility. Had the pleasure of being there a couple of weeks ago, and really enjoyed my time in the lounge there, as I do here in Kemptal as well. Gonna make it something of a plan to do something of a... Whoa! Dominic Dedic almost losing the car, but he did hold on to it. My goodness me, that was a moment and a half. And yeah, it's all very well laugh about it, but my goodness, that was a big, big save, Dominic Dedic. Well, he's done it. He's put it on pole position, but it all so very nearly went the wrong way, didn't it? Enrique Marinon, very creditable P2. Dominic Dedic, my goodness me. Ah, there he is then, P1, and that's why you just have to keep fighting and try to put as much gap as you can between your position and the position of the person that is pursuing you, because something like that happens. And Dominic Dedic, well, that could have been altogether different. Wow. Wow. What a knockout qualifying. Exactly as we anticipated and expected it to be. Hello, good morning. Hope you're all right. Ah, bless. And there is Dominic Dedic then. As you can see, he's based in our lounge in Zurich, where I was, as I say, just a couple of weeks ago. Dominic Dedic, for goodness sake, mate, I know it worried you, but it worried us as well when you came through turn number 14, got the back end out like a rallycross driver. I thought, my goodness, it's all over for him. But you did a brilliant save, Dominic Dedic.
Hello?
Dominic.
Yes, now I hear you.
I was just saying, mate, I was bigging you up because that was the save of all saves. That was worthy of a World Cup goalkeeper. I thought you were going to put it in the fence, friend. What happened, Dominic?
Yeah, I don't know. I got a bit too excited on the throttle. But Luckily, I saved it. As you can see, like I had 3 tank slappers, but all good, all good.
It was good. And you know what? I'm almost prepared to give you a few Swiss francs for giving us entertainment value, because just when we thought it was all over, it really couldn't have been. Do you know what I mean? It might have gone horribly south, but you did save it. Overall, forget that little error. That was a brilliant knockout qualifying session for you. You must love the GP circuit at the Nürburgring.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it was. I mean, that was the plan all along. I knew I was going to start up the front because I wasn't here last time.
Yep.
And I just knew I had to put in those laps and now get in a bit of practice for the race. So yeah, it went quite well. And I got those mistakes out of the way now, hopefully, so I won't be doing them in the race.
So strategy for the race, Dominic. I know you've not even had time to think about it yet, but presumably it is just trying to escape up the road, put the first few laps in as if they're quali laps to build a big comfort margin between yourself and whoever is pursuing you.
Exactly, yeah. It's just about getting into that turn 1 first and leaving out of it first. So yeah, I'll do my best and I'll see what I can do.
Just before we leave you, Dominic, what you do know, of course, about Nürburgring is that's such a funnel going into that turn 1. You're going to have 20-odd cars up your trumpet, aren't you?
Yes, it's going to be exciting, isn't it?
Dominic, you've really provided great excitement for us. Thank you for taking time to talk to us. We really appreciate that. Go and have some water,
no worries,
friend.
Thank you.
Dominic Dedich then, with the save of the day, which was superb, and did a great job in that quali session. And now, as you can see, he's able to escape the simulator. You just saw him then. He said, wow, how did I hold on to that? Well, that's the mark of talent, being able to hold on to that, and that's precisely what he did. So, Dominic then, fine legs on display as well. Whoa, steady, friend. Well done, Dominic. Incidentally, get your hair cut, mate. It's a bit long for my liking. Dominic Dedich then, what a great job he did on our knockout qualifying. He is an awesome driver, and he will be starting from P1. And as we've heard, his strategy is to try and get up the road and, of course, nail it and build as much comfort margin as he possibly can in the early stages of the race that will come a little bit later on today here on Racing Unleashed. Oh, goodness me. Now, the Red Bull Ring, of course, was a fantastic event. It provided almost as much entertainment as that knockout qualifying did. We want you to join us, of course, for the race to come today. But before we say cheerio to you, let's just remind you how good our race 1 was at the Red Bull Ring.
This is the start at the Red Bull Ring as the cars head uphill towards turn number 1. And as you climb uphill into the right-hander, all sorts of strife as the cars come out of the turn. We're on board with Jason Blasig here then, and this is what it's like to go through turn number 1 with cars going everywhere. And that's a big off moment over the grass. Tiziano Caponio also in strife as well through the gravel trap. And now this is Oberholzer nerfing a car to the side. Sebastian Hirsch then, as he dives into this, 3 into 1 does not go. There isn't the room. That through turn number 4. This is Devin Iskro in super slow-mo, and this is exactly why that number of cars trying to go for the same piece of tarmac is just never going to happen. Devin Iskro, a big winner in that. Jan Teufen trying to get as much toe off the car in front as possible. He goes to the outside, which is the outside for turn number 4. If he can make this stick, it will be the overtake of the day so far. But he doesn't. And this is a great shot on board on the run from turn number 3 towards turn number 4. The cars get oh so close. Dial in. Kiss the apex. Avoid the stricken cars. And here comes Alejandro Sanchez then. Looks to the inside. They touch wheels through turn number 3. Here we can see it again from a different angle. We'll slow it right down. Alejandro Sanchez then very late on the brakes, looking at the inside. And as you can see, as the cars turn in, there's just the slightest touch wheel to wheel. But that's to be expected. Now look at this. Both the cars continue this all the way down to turn number 4. Now theoretically, Alejandro, having the inside line, should have the advantage going through turn number 4. But again, the squeeze is put on a little bit of a lock-up. It took Alejandro 2 turns to do it, but do it he did. Angelo Michel then. And Angelo Michel, we know what a great racer he is. under threat here again. Look at this braking maneuver going into turn number 4, and a touch on another car sends it spinning. Javier Loro has been a star. And Javier Loro then crosses the timing line, heads up towards turn number 1. He is the race winner. And this is Angelo Michel then heading for the podium. He weaves from side to side. He breaks the timing beam and banks a P2. Great drive from Angelo Michel then, as he takes that P2 place and takes his place on the podium. And as a result of a post-race penalty, this man, Michael Smeedle, gets P3 and therefore takes his rightful place on the podium.
This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
And that was just a taster of what you can expect in around about 40 minutes time. We want you to rejoin us when we will go racing at the Nürburgring with Racing Unleashed. Go and grab yourself a coffee and we'll see you in around about 40-50 minutes time for brilliant action to come from Racing Unleashed. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome back to Racing Unleashed. Here we are in Kemptal, and I've been given so much privileged access today. Here in Kemptal, this is the drivers' preparation area before they go racing. Look at this assembled talent that we have. Roger Marte is here. We also have Dave Ladamada, Devin Iskro, and Christoph Holstein as well. Now, they look really, really calm and just really anticipating the race ahead. I can tell you that the sofa that I am sat on is wobbling. Such is the nerves. Roger, I'm going to turn to you because you're closest to me. You did a good job in our knockout qualifying today. What's your anticipation for the race?
What was highest anticipation?
So the language barrier. You've got to be aiming for points, maybe even a podium, surely.
That's maybe not really realistic.
Realistic is a good word. Which
maybe with a bit luck, top 5.
Okay, can I just say that this program does carry a government health warning. The reason being, just look at these legs. I mean, if that is not an athlete, what is? And talking of athletes, and of course all drivers have to be athletes because they are aiming for the top. Let's just find out a little bit more about a collaboration between Racing Unleashed and Rocket Formula 4.
Are you 14 or 15 years old and dream of becoming a racing driver? This is your chance to make your dream come true. Rocket Racing Star is a new and free F4 esports sim racing competition to discover new racing talent and in which you have a chance to win a never-seen-before prize, a racing seat in Formula 4. Here's how to become the next racing star. The competition kicks off with 5 rounds of online sim racing on legendary tracks. Before each of the 5 rounds, you have 2 weeks to set your fastest lap and qualify for the live multiplayer races. In these multiplayer races, the 20 boys and girls with the fastest qualifying lap times battle for the competition points. These points will determine competitors' positions in the rankings, which will be updated on the competition leaderboard at the end of every round. Based on the results of the points ranking after round 5, the top 16 boy and girl drivers will be invited to the grand final. In this live final, the best drivers will race a knockout final in professional racing simulators to decide which boy and girl will be crowned Racing Star champions and win the grand prize. 6 months of professional driver training from the UK's sports governing body, Motorsport UK, to qualify for their official FIA license and to prepare them to drive for the Rocket Formula 4 Racing Star team and race in the 2023 British F4 Championship. 4 months of online racing action, a live final with professional simulators, a chance to become a Formula 4 racing driver. Are you the next racing star? Join the action.
I have had the privilege of commentating on Formula 4. It's a fine single-seater series which spans the globe, and what an opportunity it is to convert from fantastic esports and sim racing to actually getting a real deal drive in a Formula 4 car. That's going to propel someone right up the racing ladder, and well done to Rocket F4, the Fernley Foundation, and of course Racing Unleashed as well for that fantastic collaboration, and of course the simulators that the guys will be using in Bolton near Manchester, incidentally, will be provided by Racing Unleashed. So real deal equipment to use as well, because our simulators are fantastic pieces of kit, designed and manufactured in Maranello, and they are under the watchful eye of Andrea Montemini, who of course himself a famed Ferrari GT driver and Formula 1 driver. And there, talking of famed drivers, he's one Mr. Carl Wendlinger. Now, Carl Wendlinger, his achievements in motor racing need no documentation from me, because the guy is hugely successful, and he is too a Racing Unleashed ambassador and works as a driver steward across, or as a race control steward across the course of our racing weekends, keeping his eye on everything that's going on, and also the interaction between what happens on track and any penalties that are awarded, because of course he can see it from a driver's perspective. And that's that's why everything that's done by Race Control is done so well, because people like Carl Wendling are offering a driver's eye perspective into the decisions that are made by our Race Control team. Everything done very well here at Racing Unleashed, no question about that. And you will recall, if you joined us for qualifying at our knockout qualifying, it was so entertaining earlier on, and proving the point that actually to be a very successful racing driver, being fit and fast is a huge benefit, and there's no one more entertaining to tell us more about that than our Chief Fitness Officer, Mr. Ralf Müller.
Hi everyone, I'm Ralf Müller, Chief Fitness Officer of the Racing Unleashed team, and I make you fit for our future. Get fit and fast for our Racing Unleashed competition beyond the Pinnacle. The focus is on fun, performance and experience. For esports, sim racing, physical and mental fitness is important. 30 to 60 minutes of exercises per day are important for your success. You want to experience Racing Unleashed? Then plan your next business event with us. We provide an unforgettable experience, delicious catering, unique hospitality, and state-of-the-art Racing Unleashed action. The prize money is very attractive. Racing Unleashed. Get fit and fast with Ralf.
The guy's a legend. So big in terms of physical presence and so big in terms of stature as well. Getting fit and fast, and members of the Fit and Fast program with Racing Unleashed already proving what a benefit that is. Of course, there are so many people that have aspirations to join us in Racing Unleashed and be part of the success story of our fantastic racing program, which continues throughout the year. Of course, 10 championship rounds and 2 non-championship rounds. We had the prologue earlier on in the year, and we've got our Battle for Glory to come at the end of the year. And talking of Battle for Glory, one driver that would very much like to be part of the Racing Unleashed grid has something of a famous surname. His surname, Vettel. His Christian name, Fabian. So Fabian Vettel then, who has driven in tin tops and in GT cars, now something of an esports star as well, and absolutely loving his sim racing. Fabian Vettel, also one of our Racing Unleashed ambassadors, and I had a conversation with him during our program last time around, and he is full of enthusiasm and really respects just how talented our drivers are. And, of course, he would very much like to join the grid. And who knows, maybe we will see Fabian Vettel on the grid. One person that we know that is going to be on the grid has already earned something of a nickname as a tornado, and that is Mr. Javier Loro.
Te llaman el Tornado Loro. ¿Cómo te gusta tu nombre o no te gusta?
Bueno, me parece un apodo muy bueno, pero oye, gracias a los de Suiza. Me hace gracia.
Loro, vorneweg.
Sieger, Javier Loro.
We have a new leader, and that is Javier Loro. Come on, Javier, big smile. You're the race winner. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, from our side, it looked like, and okay, you have to take your chances in motor racing, and of course, with Gassner going round, that was an opportunity for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that I did a really good session in the knockout. I put myself in the third place, and yeah, I tried my best. I have some difficultness overtaking Matt Gassner, but yeah, lately I overtake him, so a really good result and a really good start of season.
It was great to watch you, and you built up such a margin between yourself and P2. It was like 4.3 seconds, I think, at the end of the race. So you were consistently quick. Is that why you're called the Tornado, Javier?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm called.
Well, listen, in Madrid, we are delighted for you. You are the race winner, Javier Loro. Many congratulations, P1. Javier Loro then will head towards the checkered flag and wins at the Red Bull Ring. Javier Loro, P1.
Just love the donuts at the end of that. Now, looking altogether different than he did on the sofa just a few moments ago is Christoph Holstein then, inside the simulator. And I was just telling you how good these simulators are. And that is just a good example of what it looks like. And these cars, and you can see the preparations that the drivers are going through before the race to come. Of course, we're racing at the Nürburgring, a fantastic circuit. Let's take a look at what we can look forward to, because the race is on its way.
This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
Red lights are off, away we go.
Da müssen die Positionen hergeben.
Wow, qué adelantamiento.
Speed auf der Bremse.
Here they go, flat out, really good stuff.
Tremenda pelea.
The two cars make contact.
Unglaublich.
Wow, qué pelea.
Was war das für ein Rennen?
This is Racing Unleashed.
And this is the grid. And going from P21, Alejandro Sanchez, who's in Madrid. Alejandro, good afternoon. You've got a lot of overtaking to do. So, Alejandro, good afternoon to you. I was just saying to our audience, you're starting P21. You've got a lot of cars to overtake, Alejandro. Well, Alejandro, thank you for talking to us, although we think you might have been muted. We will make our way through the grid, and we wish you the best of luck for the race to come. Yannick Vonenberg goes from P20. Alongside Yannick is Munich-based racer Mark Gasner. He is going from P19 on the grid. We will go all the way through the grid and give you everyone, of course, and stopping on our way through the grid to talk to various people, as we do. But that is the P19 and P20 drivers, Mark Gasner and Yannick Vonenberg. Of course, the race today, Nürburgring, and we'll be racing on the GP configuration of the Nürburgring circuit. And both of those drivers, incidentally, are based in Munich. So to the next row of the grid that we will go to, where we will be seeing P17 and P18. So Javier Loro, the Tornado, and Kevin Abey, P17. Javier, then, Tornado is your name. You're going to have to be like a tornado, Javier, to overtake a lot of cars in front of you, friend.
Yeah, I will give my best, and I got nothing to lose, so I will push as hard as I can, but with calm and be conscious of what the overtakes I'm going to do.
We wish you the best of luck. Javier Loro in Madrid, and alongside him is Kevin Abey. Then he's situated in Zurich. As we move to the next row of the grid, where we find Angelo Michel going from P16. He's in Munich, and Jan Teufen, P15. He is going from our racing lounge in Zurich, in the Circle in Zurich. Now, Wojciech Polesny did such a good job in qualifying initially in that knockout qualifying, and then it all went south for him, and that means he's starting from P14, and Christoph Holstein will be going from P13. He is literally within a stone's throw from me here in Kemptal. Sebastian Hirsch, he goes from P12. David Ladamada goes from P11. Sebastian Hirsch, good afternoon to you. Racing at the Nürburgring. You're based at our racing lounge in Munich. What are your expectations for the race, Sebastian? I rather thought the way he was nodding his head that he wasn't really concentrating on listening to me. So never mind. We tried to speak to Sebastian Hirsch and give you your 5 minutes of fame, but it wasn't to be. So that is the 6th row of the grid then. Sebastian Hirsch and David Ladamada. So Sebastian clearly not tuned into what we are saying at the moment as we scroll through the grid. Devin Isgro and Roger Marte, 2 drivers that are here in Chemtal, both of whom we saw in preparations just a few moments ago when we introduced you to the program. They're great drivers, and both of them have real opportunities, and a podium must be in the target sights for both Devin Isgro and Roger Marte. They're going from P10 and P9 respectively. Ivan Kaufmann and Ralf Piringer, well, they are going from P8 and P7. Ivan Kaufmann in Calm, Ralf Piringer in Munich. Nico Farland, he did a brilliant job in the Red Bull Ring. What can he do from P6? And one man who really impressed me during the knockout qualifying is Michael Smeedel, and he's in Munich. Now, he's not a huge fan of the knockout qualifying, but Michael, you did a brilliant job today, friend.
Yeah, I just tried my best.
Always short of answers. Now listen, from P5 podium, surely, Michael, that's got to be your target.
I'm going for a win. I'm going to be super aggressive.
Well, you've heard it here first. Michael Smeedel then is going for the win from P5. Good luck to Michael and also to Nico Farland then. They are P5 and P6, going from the 3rd row of our grid for today's race that comes to you from the GP circuit of the Nürburgring. And Florian Haase in Munich, and also here in Chemtal is Fabio Vettiger. And a very good performance during the knockout qualifying for Fabio Vettiger. Surely just a couple of places you need to achieve, a couple of cars to overtake. I make it sound really easy, Fabio. It's not that easy, is it?
No, it's never easy. And I'm actually not looking forward. I think the guys in the front are too fast for me. Yeah, I have to look into my mirrors, I guess. I have Michael Smeedel behind me and some other quick guys. So yeah, I just try my best and try to not do any mistakes and then see where it leads me.
Fabio, you make mention of the fact that you're going to have a number of drivers right behind you. Keeping out of trouble is also critical, isn't it? So you don't want to get involved in other people's incidents.
Yes, exactly. So if you spin around, you lose a lot of time. So yeah, just trying to do my race, as you said, stay out of trouble and then see where we end up.
Best of luck to you, Fabio Vettiger, and best of luck to you, Florian Haase, as well. They go from P3 and P4. Enrique Maranon in Madrid, he's going from P2. But the save of the day in qualifying knockout, and the pole position goes the way of Dominik Dedic, converting P1 in knockout to P1 in the race. Dominik, surely that's the target. Well, of course, that's what Dominik will be looking for. Let's take a look now, as we've been through the grid, some of the fast facts about the Nürburgring. So here we go then, the Green Hell, Nürburgring. We use the 5.148 kilometre Grand Prix circuit, 7 left-handers, 10 right-handers, 590 metres from the start to finish line down to turn 1 with 20 laps, estimated lap time in the 1:31s. And here we can see the standings after Challenge 1. Tornado, Javier Loro, P1, Angelo Michel, P2, and Michael Smeedel, P3. He's got to be on, and he's said he's going for the win today. He's laying the gauntlet down. Enrique Maranon, of course, wants to right the wrong of the DNF from last time around. And this is what the Nürburgring looks like then. As you go into turn 1, you've come all the way down from the start-finish. Now, with all those cars all funneling into the right-hander and going downhill, it's almost a hairpin. It's almost inevitable that there could be a crash right at the start. We continue our fast facts around the Nürburgring then as we head towards one of the more famous parts of the circuit, the Michael Schumacher S's. Please keep fighting, Michael, and best wishes to Mick Schumacher following that horrible crash in qualifying in Formula 1. Right, here you can see through the chicane, it is an overtake opportunity if you can get yourself on the inside into that chicane.
Yeah, I don't know, I got a bit too excited on the throttle. And but luckily I saved it. As you can see, like I had 3 tank slappers, but yeah. All good. It's just about getting into that turn 1 first and leaving out of it first. So yeah, I'll do my best and I'll see what I can do.
And that was me talking to Dominik Dedic just after his qualifying in the green hell of the Nürburgring. Third time in the Racing Unleashed calendar. The first time named after the famous Nürburg castle, of course. Welcome to the Nürburgring. So those are fast facts. Now we go fast with all the cars lined up on the grid. The lights have been put to the top of the screen for you. I am tempted to say hold on to everything, because running into turn number 1 always is exciting. We have 6 red lights. Oh, and maybe a jump start from 1 or 2 as the lights were extinguished. Here we go. Let's go racing down into turn number 1. Dominik Dedic, P1, already under pressure. Michael Smeedel has already said he's going to do everything he needs to do to put himself into that P1 position. David Latamata has lost places, so has Haase, but Michael Smeedel already up to P3. He's going to be very much a danger man. Devin Isgro has moved forward. Piringer and Mate have gone backwards. Here's Michael Smeedel then, absolutely determined to take the win here at the Nürburgring. Fabio Vettiger then is in P6. Ivan Kaufmann and Nico Farland having a good battle as well. So lots going on in the early stages of this. We've not even done a third of the lap yet as the cars begin now with the first opportunity to kind of stretch their legs a little bit. Dominik Dedic built up something of 5/10 lead over Enrique Marinon right at the start of the race, and we're watching Fabio Vettiger then, who's got Ivan Kaufmann behind him, David Latamata ahead of him. And on board with Christoph Holstein, this is going to be a good move. A little bit of wheel barging going on here, but Christoph Holstein, as he avoids the cars that are spun around in front of him. Good avoidance from Christoph Holstein. He means business as well. Michael Smeedel then continues. He's got Enrique Marinon well within his target sights. It's Enrique Marinon and Dominik Dedic, and Michael knows what he's got to do is maintain and keep as close to those cars as he possibly can. Wojciech Polesny, who had a disaster during qualifying, having done so well, is up into the points and in P10, and this is him in his simulator, pursuing the car ahead of him. He'll dive to the inside of the circuit now. Surely this is going to be a slam dunk for an overtake going into turn number 1. He scrubs the speed. That is Wojciech Polesny showing you exactly how it should be done in turn 1 at the Nürburgring. Brilliant overtake. He puts himself into P9. So Christoph Holstein, you may have seen his car in the pit lane. That was because he jumped the start. We could see a couple of cars that looked very, very lively and anticipating the lights, and they went for it. Enrique Marinon is continuing to go for it, but of course, he has got the presence of the Predator right behind him. That Predator being Michael Smeedel, who is running in P3 at the moment. Angelo Michel then, and here is Roger Mate, him of the legs that we saw in our introduction to the program. In the points, in P10, he would like to be further up the order than that. Here's Michael Smeedel then. He knows he's got the whole race to do this. A little bit of a mistake ahead of him, and that plays right into the hands of Michael Smeedel. Just takes he's like a viper, isn't he? Just ready to pounce. And to be fair, he was given a great opportunity there, so it's up to P2 as Enrique Marinon made a small error. And that's precisely what the game plan from Michael Smeedel is. It's to provoke drivers in front into making an error. They did. Enrique did, and Michael Smeedel, as I say, like a viper, has gone through and has taken his prey, and he finds himself in P2. Dominik Dedic then sets the fastest lap, as you would expect, because of course he's got absolutely no traffic before him, as Wojciech Polesny puts in another supreme overtake here at the Nürburgring and puts himself up into P7. So the driver from the Czech Republic, who promised so much during the qualifying knockout phase and then spun on the exit of the chicane, and a mid-grid start where he was up to P3 in that qualifying, he now finds himself up to P7 as Roger Mate in P9. So Javier Loro and Christoph Holstein right at the back of the pack at the moment, and Christoph Holstein, of course, having been through the pit lane because of jumping the start and just trying to anticipate the lights, but he was a rather bit early on that. Angelo Michel, here he is, running in P13. So out of the points at the moment, but P13 suddenly becomes P12. He took his chance then, and he's through now into P12 as Devin Isgro made a small error on the exit of that turn. And, well, Angelo Michel didn't need inviting twice. Here's Ivan Kaufman. Ivan Kaufman really pursuing the car ahead here. And look at the determination as they head and brake really hard into the chicane. Curb in, curb out. Very smooth, done nicely. Devin Isgro here in Kemptowel then, running in P13. He's got Nico Farland behind him. And ahead of him is Alejandro Sanchez. Michael Smeedle now puts in the fastest lap, so that you know just Dominic Dedic has merely 0.6 of margin between himself and the hard-charging Michael Smeedle. Mark Gasner we can see on the right-hand side of the screen. Fabio Vettiger on the left-hand side of the screen as we split the screen with so much action going on. We are live from the Nürburgring. Delighted that you are with us. This is Racing Unleashed Championship race number 2. And Fabio Vettiger is in P5. And he's being pursued by Ivan Kaufman, but this is the pursuer par excellence. Michael Smeedle really closing in on our race leader. And Smeedle is just so cool, calm and calculating. And what he's doing, he'll push as hard as he can. He keeps showing his face, look, to the rear view mirrors of the car in front. And that is, he's just trying to get a momentary lapse of concentration from the driver ahead. Dominic Dedic. And Dominic Dedic, the moment he makes a mistake, Michael Smeedle is going to be through. Don't think he's quite close enough going into the chicane. There, did you see how he just put his car on the inside? Now, Dedic did not get a good exit out of the chicane. Smeedle could have an opportunity to go by Dedic around the final turn here. He will have set himself up perfectly. Now, this has got to be, you look at Dominic Dedic, he's hugging the inside of the circuit to prevent Michael Smeedle from coming by. Big defensive driving from Dominic Dedic. We're watching that battle for P1 on the right-hand side of your screen now. Whilst on the left, Wojciech Polesny continues his quest to go forward. So Michael Smeedle now, he knows that if he puts the pressure on Dominic Dedic, a little mistake may come. So it's a question of if, not when, Michael Smeedle, or rather when, not if, Michael Smeedle will go by Dominic Dedic. I have to say, with, where are we? We're on lap 5 of 20. He's got plenty of time. But there you see just how he darts out of the racing line. It's just to put his car in the rear-view mirrors of Dominic Dedic. Dominic Dedic, of course, he'll be focusing on what he's doing, but you've noticed now that the pressure has really been ramped up by Michael Smeedle, that the fastest laps have gone away. And the reason for that is he is driving with one eye on the forward trajectory and one eye on what on earth is going on behind him, because he knows that Michael Smeedle is going for it here. Let's watch him again. Now, if Dominic Dedic gets a less than perfect exit from the chicane, Smeedle could be through. Again, Smeedle just takes a look to the inside. This time, Dominic Dedic does it perfectly through the chicane and denies Michael Smeedle the opportunity. So it's about 3.5 tenths between the two of them. Will Michael have a go now going in towards turn number 1? Last time round, Dominic really hugged the inside line to prevent Michael Smeedle from going to the inside. He showed his face. He wasn't quite close enough. The back end of the Dominic Dedic car steps out just a little bit, scrubs off a little bit more speed than he would have liked. So through the arena section here, into the left-hander before the right-hander comes up, before you've even had time to blast the throttle. And through the right-hander, and now you can stretch your legs a little bit. You can see the speed building up to top gear, very nearly 260 kilometers per hour before you run downhill towards this hairpin. Back down to third gear. And you continue rolling downhill, heading towards that hairpin that I mentioned just a couple of moments ago. Very nearly 290 kilometers per hour before you get to it. And that's where Michael Smeedle is right now. The more these two fight, and the more Dominic Dedic is defending against Michael Smeedle, it's allowing Enrique Marinon to come back into this fight. So it could end up being a three-way fight for P1. And Smeedle will have to be defending himself as Roger Marte gets past Mark Gasner. And Roger Marte moves up to P9 on the right-hand side of your screen. So here comes Smeedle. He knows he's going to have to get the hurry up now because Enrique Marinon is going to be pushing him. You can see the cars are line astern now, with hardly a gap between them. There, Smeedle takes a look at the outside, then the inside. What he's trying to do is unsettle Dominik Dedic on the run down towards turn number 1. Dedic dives to the inside to protect that inside line. Smeedle, though, does try, and this time he's got alongside him. And Smeedle has to lock up under braking, and Smeedle has done it. Or has he? Because Dedic is coming back here. Dedic is going to have the inside for the next. There's a little touch between the two of them. So Michael Smeedle, for the moment, is P1. Dominik Dedic has to settle for P2. So Michael Smeedle, he kind of rehearsed that move a couple of laps in succession, and finally he makes it work. Then through the arena section, there was a little touch between the two of them. Now here is Enrique Maranon. He's in our lounge in Madrid, and, well, he knows now that it's Dominik Dedic that he's got to try and get the better of rather than Michael Smeedle. Now, my prediction is Smeedle will disappear up the road now and try and build a huge margin between himself and Dominik Dedic. Wojciech Polesny continuing his forward trajectory. He's up to P6 now and is really pulling in Vettiger now. So Wojciech Polesny with his eyes on the prize of P5 at the moment. Michael Smeedle got his eyes on the big prize of P1 because that's where he sits, and already he's built a 1 second margin between himself and Dominik Dedic and Enrique Maranon, with Haase, Vettiger, Polesny, Kaufmann, Piringer, Marte and Gasner rounding out the top 10 in this race here at the Nürburgring. So Mark Gasner then in P10. Wojciech Polesny to the right-hand side of your screen, P6. Next in his target sights is Vettiger. Here is Alejandro Sanchez then, who's been relatively quiet, but let that really rather calm look, his steely determination as he goes down the outside of turn number 1, which is always brave. But I'll tell you what, this could be one of the overtakes of the day if Alejandro Sanchez manages to get himself in the points through that move through turn number 1. It was P11 for Alejandro Sanchez, but it's P10 now, or is it? Because Mark Gasner is fighting him for all he is worth. Brilliant driving from both of them, and of course Gasner is under pressure now from Angelo Michel as well. This is Javier Loro on the right-hand side of your screen. He's running in P16 at the moment with the car of David Ladamada ahead of him. So there is Gasner. And Gasner under pressure from Angelo Michel. Angelo Michel then, if he can hang it all the way around the outside here, but just he's squeezed and he's not able to go by Mark Gasner. But again, it's a question of when, not if. I think that's going to happen, that overtake, because Angelo Michel just looks so quick. And again, to the inside in the S's here, but it didn't quite work for him. May I just make mention of the fact that in the space of the 2 laps that Smeedle got past Dominik Dedic, he has built a margin of nearly 3.5 seconds. Here's Angelo Michel then. We've been enjoying what he's doing in Munich. Now, the car in front was unsettled through the chicane. Does that give a little bit of opportunity to Angelo Michel then to try and get by the car of Gasner? Wojciech Polesny then harrying and worrying Vettiger ahead, and Polesny now to the outside in the arena, and it's not easy to make this outside work. Polesny is onto the runoff area, squeezed a bit there in fairness by Vettiger. Race control will probably take a look at that. I suspect it will be considered merely a racing incident, but Wojciech Polesny on the right hand side of your screen is really trying very hard here, and he was mighty impressive, in my opinion, during knockout qualifying until that mistake out of the chicane. His performance in the race so far has been equally awesome. So P6 for Wojciech Polesny, country man mate of Michael Smeedle, our race leader, who is 4 seconds up the road, both the drivers from the Czech Republic. So Angelo Michel is on the left-hand side of the screen that we're watching now as we split the screen, and here is the man that I was... Just look at the concentration and the focus on Wojciech Polesny then. And now he's on the back straight behind the paddock here at the Nürburgring, through the kink, which is turn number 12, towards the start of the chicane. Turn 13 is in, turn 14 is out, and then the final turn to come, which is turn number 15. Michael Smeedle sets the fastest lap, a 1:30.885. extending still further his gap at the front to now 4.5 seconds as we reach half distance, because we've started lap 10 out of 20. Christoph Holstein in P16, Mark Gasner is P13. Into turn number 1. That's how rapidly you come downhill. And then the right-hander where you pull, and the car is naturally pulled to the outside of the track because of the camber. And Wojciech Polesny then has lost a little bit of time, but he's still dropped a place, but he's still well within the points haul because he's P7, so he's just going to have to do some overtaking again. It's Ivan Kaufman that was able to take advantage of it. Here's Roger Marte, then P9, and he's being really, really pursued now by Alejandro Sanchez. We know how good Alejandro Sanchez is, and this is what it looks like inside the simulator in Madrid of Alejandro Sanchez. You can see the steely determination across the face of the young Spanish talent, as Devin Isgro is in the mix as well. It's P14 for Devin Isgro, but he's under strife from Javier Loro. Javier Loro having a go, and all the way around the outside. That's brilliant move, and Devin Isgro all of a sudden loses out to both Javier Loro and Christoph Holstein. So here is Devin Isgro. Maybe something just not his absolute happy with. Roger Marte seems to be somewhat steadfast in P9 and has not failed to the pressure of the driver behind him. Christoph Holstein then Kemptal based with the 2 cars ahead of him. And here is Roger Marte then continuing to defend against Alejandro Sanchez. So Roger Marte, P9 it is. Let's run down the top 10 for you whilst we have a moment. It's Smeedel, P1, then it's Dominik Dedic, Enrique Marinon, then it's Haase, Vettiger, Kaufmann, Polesny, Piringer, Marte, and Sanchez as Christoph Holstein. P14 now as he goes past Yannick Vonenberg. So Christoph Holstein, another driver doing plenty of overtaking. Oh, just a little nerf on the side of Devin Isgro there, as Christoph Holstein is by Devin Isgro. Left-hand side of the screen is Ivan Kaufman. Right-hand side of the screen is Devin Isgro. It's P6 and P15 that we watch, and we focus fully on P6 right now with Ivan Kaufman, with Fabio Vettiger ahead and Wojciech Polesny right behind. And here comes Polesny just showing his face to the inside as they went towards the chicane, as Michael Smeedel sets in another and puts in another fastest lap, which means his margin must be up to 6 seconds, I would think, now between P1 and P2. There we go, not a bad guess, 6.4 seconds. David Ladamada, P14, big lockup from Devin Isgro going through the chicane. You just saw that. And here is Wojciech Polesny then. It's got to be one of the hardest working drivers on the grid today. The amount of overtaking is done across both the knockout qualifying and also in the race as well. It'll be interesting to get the stats on that. I reckon he is one of the hardest working drivers. Roger Marte has lost a couple of places as Angelo Michel and Alejandro Sanchez and also Mark Gasner have gone through now like a steam train, like a locomotive. They have made their way past Roger Marte, who is relegated to P12, and into the clutches potentially of Javier Loro, who is running in P13. David Ladamada sadly going backwards as well, as here is Alejandro Sanchez. Despite his best efforts, they did pay off after 2 or 3 laps of really trying very hard. And the next in, the pursuit target of Alejandro Sanchez is lined up now as they begin climbing uphill. So Piringer has got to have his wits about him now, because the hard-charging Alejandro Sanchez is right on his gearbox and trying to convert P9 into P8. So you don't become champion in Racing Unleashed unless you are extremely talented, and there is no question about it that this young man is that. So dives to the inside now into the chicane, and that is exactly how you can make an overtake work there. Alejandro Sanchez, that was textbook. Through the chicane, puts himself up into P8. Great driving. Fabio Vettiger Ivan Kaufman and Wojciech Polesny all together there, and Kaufman does go through, then he doesn't because Vettiger fights back into the arena section, now runs wide, and that will play into the hands of Wojciech Polesny as well. And here is Christoph Holstein now, who sets the fastest lap. Alejandro Sanchez now in P8, so really ramping up his potential point score as we start lap 13 of 20 of this Racing Unleashed race here at the Nürburgring GP circuit. Ivan Kaufman then, who's been very, very busy in terms of being involved in the traffic. And Ivan Kaufman now running in P7, having seen Vettiger and Polesny. Wojciech Polesny now up to P6, having got by Ivan Kaufman. Alejandro Sanchez will be lining them up as well, but he's a little way down on Kaufman at the moment. Angelo Michel is running in P9 and Ralf Piringer in P10. To the back end of the pack, it's Teufen, but here is the Tornado, Javier Loro. Oh, just look at the simulator move under braking then as Javier Loro really pressures the car ahead of him. He's based in Madrid, as you can see, and Javier Loro and Roger Marte having a real battle here for P12. So at the moment, Javier Loro, bear in mind going into this race, top of the points by dint of his win in Austria, is at the moment out of the points. So he needs to get by Roger Marte and then get by another couple of cars as well to at least put himself into a point-scoring position. Look how Roger Marte is defending the inside line as Wojciech Polesny all the way around the outside of Fabio Vettiger to take P5. Another brilliant overtake as Javier Loro also overtakes Roger Marte and finds himself now in P12. So two overtakes in succession there. It was like in wonderful, crystal clear, clutter-free stereo, wasn't it? We were able to bring you both the overtakes at the same time. That's how good the production team are here at Racing Unleashed, and a big thanks to the guys that work so hard to bring us these fantastic pictures. Smeedel leading by 8 3/4 seconds. Here is Christoph Holstein. He's showing really good as well today. So Christoph Holstein in Kemptal, very nearly up to 280 kilometers per hour. Avoids clattering into the car ahead of him. Good, clean racing that we have seen from Racing Unleashed today here at the Nürburgring. It is the Racer League. We saw the Challenger League yesterday as Christoph Holstein goes for the overtake now on Roger Marte. He has to take to the runoff area, but that gives him the inside line for the next turn. So surely Christoph Holstein will have done enough here. But Roger Marte fights back. Through the kink they go. It's the run now towards the next turn. They are absolutely side by side. Big braking area. Now Holstein is going to be denied, or is he? No, he does go through. It was a stoic defense by Roger Marte, but firm, fair fight between the two of them, and Christoph Holstein reigns supreme in that battle against Roger Marte, and he goes through to pick up P13. Enrique Maranon in Madrid has been relatively quiet in that P3 position. Now, as you can see, our race leader, Michael Smeedel, is not even within the eyesight of Enrique Maranon or Dominic Dedic. Such has been his extraordinary prowess and progress. He's now within a few tenths, 11 seconds up the road. An extraordinary performance from Michael Smeedel, who today, as Mark Gasner takes voiding action, rather than running into the back of Ralf Piringer. Here is Enrique Maranon. Whatever he's been able to take to Dominic Dedic, it's not been enough. Dominic Dedic able to hold on to that P2 place. Mark Gasner, he wants to get himself into the points. What's denying him that? Well, the fact that he's in P11 and the man that is in the last points paying position, Ralf Piringer, is P10. So cars cross the line, put another lap in the book, and my goodness me, where has the race gone? We're already on lap 16 of 20. Alejandro Sanchez, it's P8 at the moment, but he has got both Fabio Vettiger and Ivan Kaufman within his sights. Wojciech Polesny then, a very good P5 at the moment for him. And then it's Haase and Maranon and Dedic, and of course our race leader, Michael Smeedel, who's almost in a different month. So quick. Alejandro Sanchez then in Madrid. If I'm honest with you, he doesn't look himself today. Just not quite got the spark that we expect to see from Alejandro. That will be like the perfect provocation for him from the broadcast commentator to push him still further. Mark Gasner with two completely different angles as we watch him now. Smeedel leading by 11.6 seconds. And Gasner now is pursuing Ralph Piringer because Gasner wants that last points-paying position. And there's a queue of cars behind as well, including Javier Loro and Christoph Holstein. Christoph Holstein, of course, the last driver to have overtaken Roger Marte. I wonder if Devin Isgro is going to get on terms with him before the end of the race as well. And I say before the end of the race because we will be starting lap 17 of 20 very, very shortly. In fact, now, as Mikael Smeedel crosses the timing line. And we check Wojciech Polesny as he goes through, as so does Alejandro Sanchez on Vettiger, and Alejandro Sanchez picks up that P7 place. So now, can he get on terms with Ivan Kaufman in the 4 laps remaining, or the 3 plus the remainder of this lap that remain? Here's Ralph Piringer, and Ralph Piringer and Mark Gasner. It is P11 now for Ralph Piringer as Mark Gasner goes through to pick up that P10 place, but it's a drag race down in towards turn number 1. It's very busy behind them because you've got the Tornado, Javier Loro. You've also got Christoph Holstein in there as well. So it's a 4-way fight for the final points-paying position that's going on. And brilliant, brilliant racing that we are seeing between all these drivers. And Michael Smeedel is leading now by 12.5 seconds. Let's go live to the race control now.
This is race control. This is race control. 10 seconds from Mark Gasner because of leaving track and causing a collision. 10 seconds Sebastian Hirsch causing a crash in lap 1. Thank you.
Well, that changes the points-paying positions because Mark Gasner, having picked up a 10-second penalty, that takes him out of the points-paying positions. So Ralph Piringer is elevated to P10. Effectively, and that's the 10-second time penalty will be awarded right at the end of the race. Brilliant to be able to bring you our race control team live into our program. We have 2 laps remaining. Michael Smeedel is on lap 18 of 20 and is leading by very nearly 13 seconds over Dominic Dedic as Javier Loro is getting the hurry up here. He's in P13 at the moment, but it's a net P12 when you take into account the penalties that are going to be awarded at the end of the race. So that will make a difference. So Javier Loro, the Tornado, needs to tornado his way past a couple of cars here and try and bank as many points as he possibly can, or even get into the points, which currently he's not in that position because he's in a net P12. Smeedel, Dedic, Marinon, Polesny, Haase, Kaufman, Sanchez, Vettiger, Mikel and Gasner. But it will be Piringer that takes the final points-paying position once the 10-second penalty is awarded to Mark Gasner. So Javier Loro, Angelo Mikel on the right-hand side of your screen, and he's in P9 at the moment and still pursuing Fabio Vettiger. Alejandro Sanchez has made it up to P7. The next car is the Ivan Kaufman car. Can Alejandro Sanchez dispose of Kaufman before we get to the checkered flag? Let's go on board with him now. In Madrid, he takes to some of the AstroTurf to give himself as much track elevation as he can. And Alejandro Sanchez, now you may recall I said just a few moments ago he'd looked quiet by his standards and didn't seem quite to have the spark that we would expect from Alejandro Sanchez. That was just the motivation he needed because he's really got the hurry up now. However, we must make mention of the supreme performance from Michael Smeedel. 14 seconds up the road. Here's Enrique Marinon in Madrid, and he has driven a faultless race, but he has not been able to take anything to that Dominic Dedic car ahead of him. Christoph Holstein then P12, but it is a net P11. Fabio Vettiger in P9, you can see there. Angelo Mikel ahead and Alejandro Sanchez ahead of that. So this is Christoph Holstein into turn number 1. The downhill hairpin here at the Nürburgring. We are on the 5.148 kilometer GP configuration of the circuit. And Michael Smeedel now 14.7 seconds up the road. Holstein P11, but it is a points-paying position for Christoph Holstein because we heard from race control and Mark Gasner is going to get a 10-second time penalty, and that is going to push him way down the order, probably to P15. So Devin Isgro could be the last beneficiary of that time penalty. We've started lap 19 of 20, so the penultimate lap for Michael Smeedel then. And there's Enrique Marinon. Dominic Dedic and he have been absolutely matched for pace, but just a mistake from Dominic Dedic. Just as we were talking, Enrique Marinon does go through to pick up P2. So Dominic Dedic then relegated to P3. He made a mistake coming out of the chicane. Tell you what, Enrique Marinon, not only was he hugging that wall, he was almost repainting it, so close he was. Now, Dominic Dedic, he sees a lock-up from Enrique Marinon. Can Dominic Dedic try and get this P2 place back again? He'd held on to it for so much of the race. We're on the final lap now as Ivan Kaufman and Alejandro Sanchez go fight to fight, and Alejandro Sanchez wins that little battle because he's now in P6. Ivan Kaufman relegated to P7. And it's Smeedel, Marinon, Dedic, the top three. So Ivan Kaufman, here's Javier Loro, the Tornado, with Ralph Piringer ahead of him. It's P13, a net P12 for Javier Loro. On this final lap, 16.2 seconds is the margin that Michael Smeedel is currently showing us between P1 and P2. And may I remind you that P2 now is with Enrique Marinon. And Dominic Dedic relegated to P3 as Javier Loro tries everything he can, but this man has been outstanding. As he heads towards the checkered flag, Michael Smeedel wins at the Nürburgring. You'd think he'd look a bit happier about it, wouldn't you? Enrique Marinon will bank P2. Then it's going to be P3 for Dominic Dedic. Javier Loro runs off the track. Alejandro Sanchez, P6 is probably the most that he's going to be able to take out of this race. There's Enrique Marinon. And Dominic Dedic, he knows that it was a mistake coming out of the chicane that cost him that P2 place. Of course, he has still got a podium. But Smeedel, what a start. Fabio Vettiger, he finishes in P9. Now, Mark Gasner will probably cross the line for P10, but bear in mind, he's got a penalty to come. Then it's Holstein, Piringer, Loro, Mate, Iskro, Ladamada, Vonenberg, AB, Farland, Hirsch, and Jan Teufen. As you can see there, Devin Iskro going for a last lunge ahead of the timing line. What a superb, generally hugely clean race. I don't think there'll be an awful lot for race control to have to look at. Penalties have been awarded during the course of the race where necessary, but not very many of those. So Michael Smeedel then, and it was 16.7 seconds as he puts the car into the pit lane and heads into the pit lane now. An absolutely clinical drive from this man today in our lounge in Munich. Fantastic job done by Michael Smeedel. You can see the podium at the back of the lounge there, which is where we will see drivers in podium paying positions. Really, really good race indeed. I think that's Dominic Dedic that we're looking at there. He'll be pretty disappointed. He could have taken P2, and there is Devin Iskro. He's in our lounge here at Kemptal. You can just see to the right-hand side of your picture my comfortable, easy chair that I go and relax in after a broadcast. Calm down. That's not true. So well done, Devin Iskro. Best that he could do. And still a lot more to come from all of these talented drivers that we see in Racing Unleashed. Of course, all the results and everything that you'll see is always contained on our website, racing-unleashed.com. Michael Smeedel there going down the lounge and shaking hands with all the drivers. And there's Roger Marte about to jump out of the simulator here in Kemptal. I'm guessing from the facial expression that perhaps he's just a bit disappointed with his performance in the race, but it's jolly hard work, and if anybody thinks it's really easy to sit in a simulator and be able to perform to the level that these guys do, please come and have a go. Racing Unleashed would love you to come and have a go. These simulators are available, of course, and all the drivers having put together what has been a very entertaining Nürburgring race for us. the Racer League from Racing Unleashed. Of course, we saw racing from the Challenger League yesterday and the Racer League today. So the simulators are left, and here is our provisional virtual podium. Taking P1, Michael Smeedel then. P2 for Enrique Maranon, and P3 for Dominic Dedic. Bear in mind that that is our provisional podium because we need the race director team and the race control to look at everything to absolutely ascertain that they're happy with the podium. I think they will be. I don't think there was too much really in that race that would cause the race control to have to look at too much. Please bear in mind that Carl Wendlinger is one of the stewards, and he sees it very much from a driver's eye perspective. So Dominic Dedic then, there he is in Zurich, inside the simulator. And Dominic, I'm guessing from your facial expression that maybe disappointed, you felt you could have found just a bit more? Well, Dominic is feigning not being able to hear me, but hopefully Dominic can hear me now. He's pointing to his headphones and he's not hearing anything at the moment, so we will come back to Dominic in just a minute. But as you can see, he is being prepared to speak to me, but at the moment he can't hear me, so we will come back to Dominic Dedic. As you can see, they're working on the technology right now, and there is so much technology, and I should give huge thanks to the organisational team of Racing Unleashed, and also our production team as well, our broadcast production team, who provide such brilliant pictures and such brilliant racing action. And actually, they have the biggest challenge of the lot, trying to make me look and sound good. It's not so easy, you know. So they're trying to wire up Dominic Dedic as we speak. He, of course, does bank a podium, but he will be perhaps a little bit disappointed. But we will find out if we get the opportunity to speak to him. We've seen the provisional podium, and of course we do a real podium at the lounges where each driver is situated, whether they finish P3, P2, P1. Of course, after this event we head off to the Temple of Speed. Monza is next. Very different circuit to that we've experienced today here at the Nürburgring. So that's what the drivers will be preparing themselves for. From Monza we then head to Mugello in the Tuscan countryside. Really difficult track to overtake on Mugello. Then it's Brands Hatch and Silverstone as we pay 2 visits to circuits in the UK ahead of Spa-Francorchamps. Here's Enrique Maranon then. Enrique in Madrid. Talk about take your chances when they're presented to you. That's precisely what you did. Congratulations, Enrique.
Thank you.
How?
Yeah.
How was the race for you? I mean, you know, for ages and ages and ages, it just looked, and I said on air, he hasn't got the legs to get by Dedic. You needed almost a mistake from him, didn't you? Because you were so evenly matched in terms of pace.
Yeah. The race was so great because I just don't want to be first or second. I just want to keep focus on the race. So I saw his middle and I let him go through to put first and battle with Dedic. And then when he was very far, I tried to fight with Dedic, and I just thinking that I was going to be on the 3rd place, but he made that mistake on the last lap, I think, and that's why I am second. But Dedic was all the race defending so great, so it's nice that second place.
Enrique, we go from the Nürburgring to our next round of Racing Unleashed. Of course, it's going to be at Monza, which is a very, very different track. I don't doubt that you've practiced at Monza. What do you think of the 2 circuits? Monza is going to be a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, Monza, it's a very nice track. It's very fast. The year before on the qualifying, I was on the 2nd place, so it's a track that I like so much. And let's see what's happening.
But well done, Enrique Maranon. You, of course, taken your chances and taken that P2. Many congratulations to you. Thanks for talking to us. The last thing the drivers need straight after the end of a race is some oaf like me sticking a virtual microphone into them. But thank you to Enrique Maranon. He, of course, took P2, which we thought for nearly the whole of the race was going to go the way of Dominic Dedic. But it wasn't to be in the end. So I'm tempted to say that, Dominic, you showed us just how good you were at recovering in qualifying earlier on, and by goodness, you had to do a bit of a big save, although you were far enough ahead that you were able to save a podium, but P2 could have been, P3 it is.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I had him covered on pace, obviously, and it's just the small mistake, that cost me in the end. I mean, it's annoying, but hey, it's okay, still a podium, and the race itself wasn't too bad. I mean, I knew I would have difficulties holding behind Michel, but I knew eventually I had to let him go. He got his elbows out, and then I had Enrique covered, but then again, as I said, I don't know what to say.
Well, you know what? What you're saying is absolutely true, because you're being brutally honest. It's at such a high level that you guys and girls are racing that it's just the one tiny mistake. And I mean, for goodness sake, to be able to put the pace you do lap after lap after lap, I salute you, because it's hard work, isn't it, Dominic?
Yeah, I'm quite sweaty.
Thanks for that.
Hard work, yeah. No, but I mean, it's a high level, and I usually I don't do too bad in these situations. Last season, I was in this situation quite often, that I was being pressured by drivers behind, and I usually can keep them behind. But just today, I hit the curb in a slightly wrong angle, and it threw me off. So. But hey ho, it's still a podium, still some good points, and I'm looking forward to next time.
And some money in your pocket as well, Dominic. Let's not lose sight of
Exactly.
that fact. Okay. Just before we leave you, from here we go to Monza. Is that one of your favourites or not one of your favourites?
Yeah, difficult. Yeah, I don't like it that much, but I'll put in some practice and and try to make some fun out of it. So.
Thanks for talking to us, Dominic. We really appreciate that, and well done today. You have got a podium. It takes P3 for Dominic Dedic. Thank you once again for taking time to talk to us. And as he said, it was really interesting that when Michael Smeedle is coming up, you just kind of know that he's going to go through. And Michael Smeedle, I have to say, as he joins us now, your racecraft is something that I am in awe of, because you almost have this presence when you're coming up against a driver. They just know that you are so aggressive, and not in a nasty or in an illegal way, but they just know you've got so much pace that actually they're in trouble the moment they can see you in their rear view mirrors. It's almost, I described you as like a viper in the race. I hope you won't be offended by that, but what a brilliant race. And to finish over 16 seconds in the lead, Michael, you had the pace today, friend.
Like you said, I was aggressive, but in a legal way. I'm all the time like that, and it was a great race for me. And as soon as I had a fresh air, I was able to push, but I still had like 2 or 3 tenths in my pocket, so I could push even more.
So my goodness, you'd got spare behind you as well. That's really impressive. Now. Of course, you and I have had discussions about the knockout qualifying, and we have different perspectives and different views of that. By taking the win today, of course, you're going to have to do a lot of work in the knockout qualifying when it comes to Monza, aren't you?
Yeah, it is what it is.
Is Monza one of your preferred tracks, Michael? I mean, you've done so well at the Nürburgring today. Monza is just, it's an all-out power track, so it is completely different to what you've been through today.
Yeah, in the end, it doesn't really matter if it's my favorite. It's going to be only about surviving again.
Well, you've survived, and not only survived, you've survived with a virtual laurel wreath around your neck because you're P1. Michael Smeedle, many congratulations to you.
Thank you very much, mate.
So here is the official podium then. Michael Smeedle on the top step. He takes P1. Enrique Maranon then. Good drive to take P2. Dominic Dedic, well, he banks P3. It so could have been P2, but it's P3. Those are the drivers on the podium. P1, P2, P3. We offer and afford our congratulations to all of them. So well done. Racing Unleashed, Beyond the Pinnacle race from the Nürburgring. And there is Carl Wendlinger on the right-hand side of the picture that you can see there, with our race director on the left-hand side. So Carl Wendlinger works as a steward, and he looks at it from a driver's eye perspective as well. And here you can see there's Devin Isgro, who's taking a look, and Roger Marte as well, and David Ladamada, and all the drivers here, including Christoph Holstein as well. They're all taking a look, because I am told that lots and lots of things are being looked at and investigated as well. Do you know what? From my perspective, I thought it was a relatively clean and tidy race, but quite clearly, now you can see there in that picture, as Carl Wendlinger is pointing out now, they can slow it right down to frame by frame by frame to make sure that every decision they make is pinpoint accurate. And of course, they have access to so many images that they can look at everything. Let's take a look at just some of the highlights from the race and some super slow-mos that we have here. And this is Kevin Abey on his outlap then. This right at the start of the race, and you can see what a funnel it is into turn number 1. And I have to say credit to nearly all of the drivers who managed to get through turn 1 and turn 2 without too much, but you can see there a little bit of a nerf on the inside, but no harm done. Jan Teufen that we look at now from this high shot. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, he was pushed around and therefore ends up right at the back of the pack as the discussions continue to go on behind the race control there. And the discussions also going on in the race control perch as we speak. So Javier Loro then, he had some strife during the course of the race as well, because that sidewise swipe came into him, but he was able to manage to keep it for the first part, but then for the second part it was all over as he was spinning around like a Kylie Minogue record. And this for Mark Gasner then into the chicane, and that's a great example of how by taking too much curb in the chicane it can all go horribly wrong for you. And when it starts going wrong, as you can see, it goes wrong in a big fashion. So brilliant super slow-mo shots. Thanks, guys, for dropping those into our program as well. We've already highlighted the fact that we'll be heading off, when I spoke to our P1, 2 and 3 drivers, we'll be heading off to Monza next. And that is not far away. 23rd, 24th of April, we'll be heading off to that circuit just to the north of Milan. Had some very pleasurable times in Monza. It's a real power circuit, very quick track indeed. So that's going to be very interesting to enjoy, both with the Challenger League and indeed the Racer League if you're new to us. This is Roger Marte, super slow through the Michael Schumacher S's here. And just the slightest of touches. So perhaps now, having looked at some of these super slow-mos, we can see why Carl Wendlinger is looking at so many different things on screen now, and we go live to what he's looking at exactly now, pulling it down frame by frame to look at everything. And Enrique Maranon then with an overtake on the exit of the chicane, and collective decisions being made. 3 heads are better than 1, you know. And all these decisions being made and things being looked at before we can bring the absolute confirmed result. But do bear in mind, I don't think there's anything that will affect the P1, 2 and 3. And talking of P1, 2 and 3, that was our race winner that you saw there, Michael Smeedel, who of course, the way that our knockout qualifying works means that he will be starting plumb last when it comes to knockout qualifying for our next race at Monza. But we saw today just how much overtaking he was able to do during knockout qualifying, so he'll be expecting to do exactly the same. Okay, let's take a look at our drivers then who enjoy the P1, P2, P3 places, who will be taking their places on our real podiums. We've seen the virtual podium, but of course in whatever lounge the drivers are situated in, we actually conduct a podium ceremony for them as well, and that's what we will be going to next. And there is Dominik Dedic then, and he's in Zurich. He takes step 3 and is afforded his trophy. Well done, Dominik Dedic. All smiles now and a big thumbs up. Well done to you, sir. Great job done. And thanks to the team in Zurich. Then Dominik Dedic doing a good job and taking P3. So that's our P3. Here comes P2 then. And there you can see all smiles as well as Enrique Maranon takes his trophy for P2. Well done. And Michael Smeedel then on the top step of the podium in Munich. And he collects his award. And a big handshake and a big smile from Michael Smeedel, P1.
Mikhail, that's one of the biggest smiles I've seen you do since I've known you. Well done, Michael Smeedle, our race winner. Now, that's what the podium looks like if your lounge has not provided us with a P1, a P2 or a P3 driver. It remains empty. I could, of course, leave my position and go and stand on it just to make myself feel good, but I won't do that as we continue to look at our team in race control, deliberating and making their decisions and deciding whether further penalties should be awarded. And here we are back in our studio, very comfortable as it is too, having decided to share with you such a fantastic race. I'm so glad that you've been with us with Racing Unleashed and that you continue with us throughout the championship season. Let me give you a preview of where we are going during the course of our season. As I have been mentioning, we're off to Monza next. From Monza, we go to the Tuscan circuit of Mugello. Then it is Brands Hatch in the UK. Before we go to the GP circuit in the UK, which is Silverstone. Then it's off to the Ardennes region of Belgium as we go to Spa-Francorchamps. That's 27th, 28th of August. Then towards the end of September, 24th and 25th, we will be going to Barcelona, the circuit to Catalonia in Spain. Before we go back to the Zurich Airport circuit, which is race 9 on the 22nd and 23rd of October. Now, if you joined us for our prologue program, you'll know that we raced at the Zurich Airport circuit there. It's a fantastic circuit. Then we go to Imola to round out the championship season on the 12th and 13th of November. That's race 10. It's at Imola. And we now have our provisional race results. I should also mention that we have a Battle for Glory race, which is a non-championship race in December, at a location to be confirmed. Here is the provisional race result then in full for you. So, from Nürburgring, taking the win, Mikhail Smeedle. P2, Enrique Marinon. P3, Dominik Dedic. Wojciech Polesny with a very good P4. Florian Haase taking P5. Alejandro Sanchez takes P6. Ivan Kaufmann P7. P8 for Angelo Michel and Fabio Vettiger P9 with Mark Gasner P10. So those are the point scorers. Then we find Christoph Holstein takes P11, Ralph Piringer P12, Javier Loro takes P13, Roger Marte P14, then it's Devin Iskro P15, David Ladamada with P16, Yannick Vonenberg P17. It was 18th for Kevin Abe and 19th for Nico Farland, with Sebastian Hirsch taking P20 from our second championship race at the Nürburgring. And rounding out the pack, it was Jan Teufen who takes P21. As Carl Wendlinger taking a look at everything. Bear in mind the race result that we bring you is provisional. You can check out the official once Race Control have looked at everything. You can check that out at our website, and that is www.racing-unleashed.com. That's where you will find all the information with regards to our fantastic series and competition of Racing Unleashed, and of course where the full classified results will be put once they are confirmed. But I can see, just looking atop my screen, that Race Control are still very busy taking a look at lots of incidents during the course of that race, which really surprises me and proves just how seriously this is all taken, because I thought the race was relatively clean and without too many things to be looked at. But clearly I was wrong, and there were things that are going to be looked at, and they keep doing so. So, we'll be heading off to Monza next on the 23rd and the 24th of April. Thank you so much for watching our program today from the Nürburgring. From all of us here at Racing Unleashed, bye-bye for now.
This is Racing Unleashed Beyond the Pinnacle.
Red lights are off, away we go.
Da müssen die Positionen hergeben.
Wow, qué adelantamiento.
Speed auf der Bremse.
Here they go, flat out, really good stuff.
Tremenda pelea.
The two cars make contact.
Unglaublich.
Wow, qué pelea.
Was Was war das für ein Rennen?
This is Racing Unleashed.